Alright, so for today I feel like doing something a little bit weird. Today we're going to be using Eddie. Basically how Eddie works is he's basically like Paleo Luna, but for shield. And how his perk works is critical hits with melee weapons that do specifically energy damage will take X amount of your current shield and will be added to your next melee attack. And if you're wondering how much extra damage Eddie actually does give to your melee weapons, it's pretty simple. Just look at the amount of shield points that he has, and well, because I'm running him in the elite, basically I'm just going to subtract around 34% of that shield, and that will give us a total of around 120,000 extra damage, just as long as his perk triggers. And just as a comparison, this Krypton sword I have does around 30,000 damage. With running just Eddie in the lead and having his perk trigger, we are actually quintupling this weapon's overall damage output. So basically multiplying it by 5. And keep in mind that's just running Eddie in this loadout in the lead. That's not including support perks or any team perks that are also buffing this weapon's overall damage output. And just as another comparison, if we take Paleo Luna right here, she adds at most 9% of your current health to melee damage, which means if you're running Blast from the Past and Paleo Luna in the lead, she's going to have around, I would say, 1,018,000 health. I'm just going off of the base health that she has. And if we subtract 91% of 1,018,000, that actually gives us around 96,000 extra damage for all of our melees. And if we come back to the same Krypton sword with the 30,000 damage for its base attack, and we run Paleo Luna in the lead with Blast from the Past, we're actually only doing around 126,000 damage as opposed to the over 150,000 damage that we get with just Eddie in the lead, without any team perk, without anything else. Now mind you, with Eddie, you of course have to swap your element from whatever it is that you had on it before to energy, and you have to land critical hits. So in general, Paleo Luna can get a better DPS over time, but if you have constant crits and you're using a weapon that's locked to energy, you can actually get a better overall damage output over time with Eddie, with some good RNG with crits. And with all of that ranting and comparison out of the way and done with, let's get straight on into Loadout. For our loadout, I'm running Eddie in the lead, of course. I'm running Totally Rockin' Out. Something nice that you can't run with Paleo Luna is Totally Rockin' Out. You will lose so much damage if you do not have Blast from the Past if you are using Paleo Luna, especially if you're using her for support. So being able to run Totally Rockin' Out and not have to be limited to only Blast from the Past is really nice. And of course the main reason why I am running Totally Rockin' Out is because it increases our crit rating by a lot. I'm also running Battlebeat Wildcat and, well, was running Fumble. I'm actually going to take this perk out of the loadout and replace it with Subwafers. The main reason is because I'm just strapping. You don't want to run Fumble when you're using strap tunnels. For smaller builds when you're building around your objective it's fine. But when you have strap tunnels that, could maybe get randomly destroyed by sploders, definitely not worth it. We also have Whiteout Fiona. I'm actually going to explain her a little bit more a bit later, but extra critical rating for the melee I'm using is always great. We're also running Intergalactic Ken. And I'll be honest with you, if you are not playing solo, this is easily the best hero to have in your support squad, no questions asked. And how Intergalactic Ken works is, whenever you get eliminations with energy damage, it restores our shields by X amount. The reason why this is so important is because if you use ceiling fields, wall dynamos, and ceiling sappers that specifically do energy damage, they will actually be giving us shield back, which means not only is he going to be able to keep Eddie alive and viable in this loadout so he can constantly pump out lots of damage, but it's also going to be great for survivability, keeping us alive constantly, just as long as we're getting constant trap kills. And for my last hero, I decided to use Deadly Blade Crash. Basically, whenever we get a critical hit on anything, that enemy will be snared by 30%, and they will take affliction damage based on, of course, the amount of damage the actual weapon we use does. And that's pretty much all of the heroes I'm running in this loadout. Let's check out the weapons I'm going to be using. For my main weapon, I'm going to be using the Stabbsworth the Third. So let's check out the perks. I'm running critical damage. I don't have a critical rating perk at all, but I have Whiteout Fiona in my support squad, so it doesn't really matter if I don't have a critical rating perk or not. You can run armor instead of damage if you want a more casual version of this loadout. The armor will of course synergize with the shield, so keep that in mind. You will lose less shield points with the armor. We of course have to have this weapon do energy damage. This loadout pretty much would be almost completely dead without this weapon actually doing energy damage at all. We also have attack speed on this weapon too, just to help out with a bit of DPS. I also have this perk right here. Bonus damage to enemies that are stunned, staggered, frozen, or knocked down, so basically anything that's crowd controlled. I'll get into why I'm running this perk specifically. And for my 6th perk, I'm running landing hits, of course Rant 6 critical rating. That lasts for 5 seconds, that stacks up 5 times. Affliction damage would be really good, snare would be fine if you want to buy yourselves a little bit of time before an enemy gets to your objective, but I don't really want to spend a Quarry perk on a base game weapon. So I'm just going to stick with the critical rating 6 perk for this weapon for now. And for my secondary weapon, I'm actually running the Shooting Star. A problem I've noticed with this loadout is that whenever I try to attack a smasher, I either get hit by him because I'm in his way, so he just slaps me, I lose all my shield, and that of course reduces my damage, or he tries to charge at one of my walls, accidentally hits me because I'm trying to melee him, and then once again I lose all of my shield because this smasher hits me. And that's pretty much the reason why I'm running the Shooting Star. If I ever see a smasher, I can just pop out this weapon, freeze him in place, and have extra time to kill him before he gets to my objective, destroy something, and that's also why I have the bonus damage to frozen enemies perk, by the way, so I can freeze them in place and do even more damage to that enemy. I of course have fire rate on this weapon, and reload, so I can pop out this weapon as much as I want, freeze any enemies I want, and never have to really worry about them accidentally hitting me. But with all of that being said, let's jump straight on into the actual gameplay of this video. Alright, so this is the build. I got my energy damage dealing dynamos and sealing fields, and even though this zone is technically water, and it would be better to have these traps be nature for that extra damage, it's better to keep them as energy, so we can of course get value from Intergalactic Ken. Like I said earlier, you can use Intergalactic Ken and use traps that do energy damage to actually get shield back, both keeping you alive and keeping Eddie active and doing as much damage as possible. I also have some freeze fours as well. Of course, those work really nicely with dynamos. I have some wall darts. Fan is kind of notorious. They have lots of nurses in Fan, so I do suggest using some wall darts here and there, or broadsides. Also, if you're curious for all of the perks for all of the different traps, I have of course the perks for everything in the description. I have some tar pits back here, of course for smashers. Smashers are of course very common in Ride the Lightning, so keep that in mind. Didn't realize I didn't have enough blue glow, but now I do. So let's start up the first wave and see how this loadout performs. Here we have a smasher, almost at full health. We will freeze him in place, and he basically dies within, I would say, around 8 to 10 hits. Might be around, I guess technically it would be around 13, maybe, if he was at full health and frozen. But very, very strong loadout, especially considering the fact that its melee attacks incredibly quickly. So even though around 10 melee hits sounds like a lot, it's not really that much because of how fast its melee swings.
blue glow. Add blue glow and get ready to defend the van. Put the switch when you're ready.
And that was the first wave. I think it went pretty well. The Smashers showed up. They died, like always, because they suck. And yeah, that was pretty much the first wave. I'm going to cut real quick to build this lane real quick. Alright, starting up the second wave right now. For my trap tunnels, I added a sound wall for each of them. Make sure the freeze has a different reload time from the sound walls. They both have the same reload by default, so make sure one of them doesn't have 2 reload perks. Here I kind of made a small mistake. This is why I don't ever suggest rushing in these sort of missions, because I did not know that they were spawning up this little hill area. But all I'm going to do is build a quick little barricade. And yes, just a quick little around 1 to 2 tile barricade is actually more than enough to stop them from, of course, coming up here. Here we have the boss. I'm not going to be killing him, but I just want you to watch his health bar. He has tank and shielded, so he does actually take reduced damage from this weapon, believe it or not. And I'm consistently hitting around 400,000 damage, more than that, against him with this loadout. So this loadout does hit like a Shrek. Just to give you a comparison, if I did actually decide to spend all of this time killing the mini-boss, he would die. And that was pretty much the mission. A little bit chaotic, but you know what? I don't really care. I didn't leak anything. We take those out here. But other than that, that was Eddie. Very, very underrated hero, honestly. The fact that he could compete with Paleo Luna, you know, and Paleo Luna needs Blast from the Past. The fact that he's able to compete with her without the need of any team perks is pretty impressive if you ask me. But other than that, if you enjoyed this video, think about liking and subscribing. I do this sort of content all the time and it helps out the channel a lot. If you have any sort of feedback, or you have any sort of ideas for weapon, hero loadouts, or strap builds in the future, make sure to leave a comment. And also, share this video with anyone that means Paleo Luna, you know? They're probably going to enjoy it. Actually, no, they definitely will enjoy it. You should definitely share this video with them, if I'm being honest with you. But other than that, hope you enjoyed the video, hope you have yourselves an amazing day, and I will see you in the next one. So see ya!